So lately, I've been thinking a lot about the concept of it being okay to just struggle, um, and not attach feelings to the struggle that you're going through. And I kind of wanted to talk about, I think, where that comes from and why it stops us from making progress. So, the number one reason why the feeling of struggle stops us in our progress is because struggle makes us feel very uncomfortable with where we're at. And feeling uncomfortable with where we're at kind of I think it makes us feel like we're not doing anything, right? Because kind of crooked, whatever. The feeling of struggling makes us feel like we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, right? It makes us feel like we're not making any progress. When the reality is, if you're struggling, it means beneath the surface, you actually are making progress because your brain is working in a way, your body, whatever it is working in a way to kind of build you new pathways to learning. You're building the skill without even realizing, in other words. So I'm going to apply this to when I first like started like taking sketching and drawing kind of seriously for the first time. I think it was last year. I had, and I still kind of struggle with this a little bit, but I had major issues with starting. And whenever I would, look up a tutorial on how to do something, whenever I would, even if it was just to learn how to like do a circle or an ovoid or something like that, it was very painful to learn how to do that because I struggled. I didn't know how to quite hold the pencil. I didn't develop, I didn't know how to, the class that I started was, I believe, and I'm still watching some of his courses. It was Brent Eviston. He's like one of the master artists on YouTube. He has tons of great content. And he was showing how to hold the pencil, right? And I was struggling with that. I was like, how the hell am I supposed to learn anything? And I'm learning how to struggle, I'm learning, I'm struggling with how to hold a pencil. I don't even know how to hold a pencil right, and I can't even put anything do it right. I can't even put it to paper. And it wasn't until I shifted my mindset around the struggle of learning things when I realized like you have to give yourself grace when it comes to learning anything. You have to give yourself time to adjust to the fact that you're learning something new. When you first learned, you didn't realize this, but like all the skills that you have learned, literally everything, whether it's walking, talking, taking a bath, doesn't matter, right? There's an adjustment period to learning the new thing. And this is the most obvious, or at least I should say the least obvious thing. The least obvious way that this is true is when you start a new job. When you start a new job, you're stumbling and bumbling probably at the new job, right? Like I can remember some of the jobs that I've had in the past, I was adjusting for a week, 2 weeks, and I was struggling at work, but I didn't take it personal because, my mindset shifted to the point where I was like, well, I'm paid to be here, right? Like they wouldn't have hired me if they didn't think I could do the job. So, and there's constant reassurance at the job. Like, listen, it's your first week. They come in, they hire you knowing that you're not going to be an expert. Like, yeah, you may have had experience or whatever, but they know you're not going to exactly hit the ground running. There's almost no job where you can necessarily do that unless the job is something that requires you to hit the ground running, 20 years experience, whatever the hell it is. And that's how we have to treat anything new that we learn. That's how we have to treat our skill set, right? Our learning a new skill set. We have to remove the emotional component of struggling, right? We have to internalize, like, it's okay to struggle. It's okay to not be good. Like we just haven't done enough to understand, like, to get feedback yet, right? Or at least the feedback loops haven't even been established yet. You haven't done anything yet, especially when you're brand new. A good way to see this is like what I would do is when I was drawing is let's say I'm working on a part of the body, a body part or something like that, brand new. Let's say I'm working on, I'm doing gestures, but I'm doing hand gestures or I'm doing arm gestures or whatever the case may be. I would literally count how many I've done in total. That's what I started doing. I was like, let me just count how many. Anytime I feel frustrated that I'm struggling, I would just say, all right, let me count how many I've actually done. And the number would be way lower than the number I thought it was, right? Like way lower. I thought I was doing 100 of them, right? Turns out I was doing like 20, 30. And I would look back at the session and they were improving. Like the first ones weren't even that bad, but my emotionally, because I was struggling up here, it was biasing how I thought. I was comparing it to the video that I was going off of. Again, I still use Brent Evanston's videos for gestures or stuff like that. I was going off of what I was seeing in the videos. Like, I'm literally comparing myself to a master artist, thinking like, damn, my angles aren't as good. Like my curves aren't as deep. Like, it's just not as detailed, whatever the case may be. When the reality is this is a false comparison. There's no comparison. I'm nothing compared to that guy yet. I haven't put in 20 years, 30 years of effort yet. I barely even put in an hour of effort into the thing. So again, the whole point of this is to say, like, it's okay to struggle. Just accept, like, yeah, I'm gonna suck right now. I'm not good. And that is perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine to be not good. It's perfectly fine to not be where you want to be yet. It comes from, the struggling, the emotional attachment to our struggle comes from a warped sense of expectation. The reality is we haven't done enough work yet. We're too green. We're too new. And you have to give yourself time. The reality is, like, you want the outcome right now, when the reality is the outcome is over here, right? Like, you're right here relative to your race, and the outcome is way over here. And there's you're only moving one step at a time, right? 1 foot forward at a time. And you're gonna get there if you just keep walking, if you just stay consistent. But you have to, and I'm not saying necessarily that you can't feel emotional. Embrace the fact that you feel emotional. Ask yourself, all right, where's this coming from? It's more than likely a sense of warped expectation. So, get your expectations in check. It's okay to be emotional, but, ground yourself and realize, all right, I'm being emotional. I just need to keep going. I just need to accept where I am and just keep putting 1 foot forward and, 1 foot after the other, and that's it. All right, that's it for today, guys.